Megyn Kelly joins us. Megyn, I usually listen to the New York Times, the Daily, the first thing when I get up in the morning, and my head was going to explode because the New York Times was lecturing Texas on what we need to do for power. I couldn't take it. But then I was listening to yours as well right after, and you spoke to somebody we refer to as Jane Doe, a 17-year-old girl who was accused of racism in St. Louis. Tell me her story.
Glenn, it was one of those things where I saw a news report that her family had hired a lawyer and filed a claim against the school. And I thought, well, this is one of the first of its kind, a family pushing back on this racist ideology when it really hurts an actual live student, right? And there's actual pain and intentional emotional distress inflicted. And I thought there's no way this family's going to let this girl speak, but they did. So we used Jane Doe instead of her real name, and it turned out to be probably the most emotionally gripping interview I've done since I launched the podcast back in September. It was really good.
Yeah.
This poor girl, you can, feel her pain, frankly. If you listen to the interview, you can hear it build until she kind of can't take it anymore, and she breaks down, and you can, I think, just put if not a face, at least a voice on the damage this nonsense ideology is doing to our children. Somebody just online just asked me, why are you so focused on this? For the reasons you just said prior to introducing me, because the suicide rate amongst our children is peaking. It's out of control between COVID and now this. And what worse time could you think of to pile one more thing on these children? Every single white kid is a racist. Every boy is full of toxic masculinity. They were born bad. And that's what this girl's school allegedly believes. So Jane tells a story of how she was at it was basically a camping event with some friends, and they revealed to her that there are three black girls in their 50 or so person all-girl class. It's a Catholic private school. So she's a senior, and in her 50 or so person class, there are three black girls. And one of them, she finds out, has alleged that she stood up in the middle of a class and pointed at the black student and yelled, "All black lives do not matter," or "Black lives do not matter." And
that's not good.
Unfortunately for the accuser, it turns out that this class was on tape because it was in person, but it was also being offered via Zoom, and all Zoom classes are taped. So there's a tape of the entire class. And according to Jane Doe, the tape shows nothing of the kind, nothing. And moreover, Glenn, you would imagine if a white girl stood up in a class and yelled at a black girl, it would be a huge deal. And the teacher would have intervened, and in the moment it would be huge, none of which happened. And the teacher, according to Jane Doe, backed Jane Doe and said this never happened. This is made up. And according to Jane Doe, the accuser has a history of making up tales along these lines. Well, it should have been over in one day. Didn't happen. Don't know why she alleged it. You owe her an apology for dragging her name through the mud. And because of critical race theory and this school's belief that, as they said directly to Jane Doe, all white people are racist. All white people are white supremacists. She was treated as though she still was the aggressor and in the wrong, Jane Doe was, even though it appears she was the victim here. And now the school's denying all this. The school gave us a statement saying the complaint is riddled with falsehoods, and we'll have our chance to defend ourselves. But they haven't produced the videotape. It'd be very easy for them to say, here's the tape. Jane Doe did it. Watch. Didn't happen. And, until and unless it does, this girl deserves the benefit of the doubt because there's not a single witness other than the accuser behind closed doors saying that it did. Not one student in the class has come forward to say she did it. The teacher didn't come forward to say she did it. In fact, the teacher allegedly said to Jane Doe first thing after, "I know this isn't true. Of course I was there." But the school has allowed this young woman's life to be ruined for no reason other than she happens to have been born with white skin and her accuser happens to have been born with black skin.
How has her life been ruined?
She's become the scourge of the St. Louis school system. So word travels fast in these schools, and the word got out that she did it. The girl was spreading the rumor. It of course, if true, would have been a huge thing. And so she became the target of social media bullies, public mockery. Within her own school, the word got out that she did it, kids who weren't in the class and so on. And, where do you go to get your reputation back? The school won't stand up and publicly say it didn't happen, even though privately they've told her.
Why?
They say it's because given the time we're in, this is what Jane alleges, given the times that we're in right now, we have to be extra sensitive to a student of color, even one making what appears to be a false allegation.
That is, this is, Megyn, I don't know how to take it anymore. I really don't. I don't know what to say on the air anymore. I don't know how to, encourage people that, things are going to work out, because this has gone beyond madness.
The accuser in this case allegedly said she's a Trump supporter. Jane Doe is a Trump supporter. Her family are Trump supporters, which is true. And all Trump supporters are racists, right? We've heard that before. And Jane Doe has cops in her family and had a sticker on her computer that had a blue line in it, which apparently there's a distinction between Blue Lives Matter and this sticker. But this is basically, I support police. Mm-hmm. And she felt it was important to have it because of all the allegations being made writ large about police over the summer, which she didn't believe, and she thought her uncle and others had served honorably. And she was told by the school in this context, that's racist. The accuser was given the option of making her take it off of her computer by administrators who were donning BLM paraphernalia on their computers and T-shirts and so on, right? So only one message is okay. This is at a Catholic private school in the Midwest, Glenn, right? We're not talking about the New York City, Upper West Side liberal bastions where I am. And so she and her family were at their wits' end. She could get no help. And when you hear the distress caused to this young woman, I really hope it puts what we hear about, like Chris Rufo's tweets and his efforts to document what critical race theory is doing, into something you can really understand, something tangible. Like this is an actual girl who is in real distress now because of these nonsense theories that she's being made to pay for sins of the father 200 years ago.
We already know, because of things that were done in the schools in the 50s and 60s to show how easy it is to get kids to turn against Jews. Remember, they used to, the teacher that did the, blue eye, brown eye kind of thing. And it was easy by the time they went for recess that they were already segregating themselves. This is that program writ large. That this is the actual dividing of the country in very dangerous ways. And, if you say that, you're not going to have a voice for long.
Well, that's the thing. So it's hard enough for grown-ups on Twitter to stand up to the mob and say, calm down. What's your evidence? Let's see the proof, right? Like, enough with these sweeping condemnations based on immutable characteristics, which back when I went to school was not okay to do. Think of 16-year-old girls. I mean, that you'll do anything to avoid the wrath of the mob at that age, having to do with anything. I mean, you could wear the wrong sweater and they could turn on you. Something like this, in today's day and age, when, of course, we're all being told there's only one position to have, otherwise you're a bad person. Can you imagine how hard it was for her to find a friend to stand by her, even girls who knew it wasn't true? According to her complaint and her testimonial to me, they knew it wasn't true, but they were afraid. They're all afraid